When you no longer entertain us, you die.
Predictable as ever, gods of Ragnarok. As I think has been said before, I wasn't after. Anyway, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I love the Seventh Doctor's era. I just do. I didn't know how I would. I didn't really think I would. Granted, the first time I ever saw the Seventh Doctor was in that scene in the 11th hour, and at that point I just sort of fell in love with him because of the hat. That was it. I love a good hat. And he's actually the first incarnation to consistently always wear a hat for the most part. You can look at characters like, say, the first Doctor sometimes had a hat that was gone pretty quick. Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor's hat was gone even, actually, quicker than that. And then we had the third Doctor, he wore a hat once. Fourth Doctor sometimes had a hat. He was the closest to constantly wearing a hat. 5. The fifth Doctor puts a hat on, leaves, takes it off. Can't work with that. Can't trust him. Can't trust him. Then you come to the 7th Doctor, and this hat is beautiful. Anyway, looking back at the 6th Doctor's era, and we talked about how Trial of a Time Lord was the show itself being put on trial, with the verdict being the show can stay, Colin can't. And then we come to the 7th Doctor's era, and I feel the 7th Doctor's era was the right direction to go. The thing that stands out the most about the 7th Doctor's era was introducing the mystery back into Doctor Who. His era was really about letting us know we didn't really know the Doctor. We didn't know who this mysterious person was. You know, we thought we've known him since the show was in black and white, when he was there with his granddaughter, and he was just in a junkyard, and we've been with him for about 20 years. More than 20 years, and we still don't know him. That's what this was about. You didn't understand him. No. He wasn't just some guy that happened to be in a junkyard with his granddaughter. No. There's more to him. There's a bigger mystery. Doctor's not even his name. And that'll become a thing later. Actually, if you look at it, a lot of stuff that happens in the 7th Doctor's era carries over into New Who. The 7th Doctor's era is about showing that the Doctor is more. He's a legend. He's this big, powerful being. And New Who loves to do that. Stephen Moffat, Russell, they love the idea the Doctor's the chosen one. That he's this creature, that he's this being that, enemies fear and armies will just turn away and run at him. That comes from the 7th Doctor when you think about it. Although I think the narrative they were going for, especially Moffat, was that the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor were a culmination of the Doctor's entire life. But that concept of the Doctor being a legend and battling cosmic entities really starts here, in my mind. Because the 7th Doctor actually does battle cosmic entities. And we have Andrew Cartmel think about it if we look at it like that. So Andrew Cartmel and the Cartmel Master Plan was this idea that we're going to reintroduce the Doctor sort of like a quasi-reboot without being a full reboot. Like nothing changes except the Doctor's history. So we were supposed to find out that the Doctor was one of 3 big figures in Time Lord society known as the Other, because I guess they still didn't know his name. He would have been right there in the early days with Rassilon and Omega. Now this sounds like the Timeless Child Plan. As a matter of fact, people said like, oh, this is the Cartmel Master Plan fully realized. And Andrew Cartmel said, no, it's not. First of all, the best thing about the Cartmel Master Plan, from my understanding, was there was never going to be a definitive answer to it. That's great, leave it up in the air. Stephen Moffat understood that at least when he did Hellbent. And, the idea like, who is the hybrid? Is the Doctor the hybrid? Is Clara the hybrid? Is me the hybrid? Is the Doctor half human? No, the Doctor is not half human. And we'll get to that, I promise. As well as the fact that the Cartmel Master Plan is about us, the audience, and by extension Ace, or Ace and by extension us, understanding the mystery as we go by. The Doctor knows the answer. The Doctor doesn't give us the answer, but we find out more and more about the Doctor, so we're able to come to a conclusion on our own. The Timeless Child has the Doctor not only not knowing, but also not really seeming to care that much about the Timeless Child, and then being told that she's the Timeless Child. That's it. The answer's given. The answer's kind of unfulfilling. It's presumably answers questions, but it still leaves a lot more in the air. And just so it doesn't feel satisfying the way the Cartmel Master Plan's unresolved mystery does. But anyway, so there's some things that stand out about the 7th Doctor's era. First is his companions. From a TV standpoint, Next to Colin, he's had the fewest companions. Actually, with a total of 2. Both Mel and Ace. So Mel's tenure was just 1 season, and Mel's all right, but this wasn't it. Like like Perry, will find more love and better stories in Big Finish. And the 7th Doctor has Ace, and Ace is an amazing companion. She is sort of a prelude to what we'll see in characters like Rose Tyler and Martha Jones, but actually I think it's done a bit better because, or at least, depending on how you look at it, because Ace feels like she was created for the story, or, as I would like to point out, the 7th Doctor chose Ace. It wasn't as happenstance as we'd like to think it was. At least that's how I feel, because the 7th Doctor is a character who seems to like to manipulate and control. There's plans within plans with this character. But Ace, the moment we see Ace, and she's a waitress on a planet called Ice World. Turns out she's from Earth in the 80s, and a time typhoon came and swept her off in space. So she's been on her own this whole time. So already she's an interesting companion, because her story is just insane. And reveal there's more layers to her. There's a lot of anger built up in her. She loves destroying things. She likes explosions. She's very 80s, and people like that. But there's also a certain vulnerability to her. And the idea that the Doctor is sort of trying to poke at her, trying to figure out, sort of possibly one part what makes her tick, but also try to lead her to be something better. It's very Merlin from the Sword and Stone. And speaking of Merlin, this Doctor apparently is, or will be Merlin. So that's hilarious in one aspect.
That it wasn't Anselm's people who built this tunnel. It was Merlin.
But everyone thinks that you're Merlin.
Exactly. Door key to my voice pattern. Just the sort of thing I would do.
Are you Merlin?
No. But I could be. In the future. That is my personal future. Which could be the past.
But in terms of where he was going with Ace, there was plans for her to go to the Pridorian Academy on Gallifrey to be a Time Lord. And Big Finish will go further with that, and I think even other stories have, where she will be a member of Celestial Intervention Agency, Gallifrey's CIA, and yes, it is just as shady as any CIA. And it's just, Ace is just, she's fun. Okay, so we'll see her beat up a Dalek with a baseball bat. We'll see her fight Cybran with a slingshot. We'll see her deal with the issues of her mother, going back to her home of Perivale. She's just a fun character because there's so much she does and gets to do. And her relationship with the Doctor is tested in ways that we won't see from this point, from the 7th Doctor's era. We won't see that again until the 12th Doctor's era, honestly. Maybe 11.
Ace!
Leave me alone!
I can't! I won't!
Let go of me!
I just realised I was only half there, like in a dream. I had to be. They'd have understood me otherwise, read my mind. It's something I did to myself. Oh, I should have told you that. I could see Jan was infected that night at the campfire. I didn't expect you to.
Won't tell us then.
No, I'm a Time Lord. I don't.
You were!
I saved the lives of millions of people. Isn't one person?
What? You think that's a good deal? If you let go my wrist, I'll kill you now. You know that? I'll kill you. You wanted me to leave him just because you told me to.
That may have. I mean, that might.
Leave me alone.
But it's me now again. I'm not.
Leave me alone.
Leave her alone. I told you not to go near her. Look at you. You're afraid she'll attack you. Let her go, for God's sake.
Fake Mum and Dad. Bit worse, though. Thanks, but no thanks. Were we ever mates?
Yes!
We can't have been! You're not human, right, Professor? I'm never gonna play your games again. Never get manipulated again. is the end.
Going back to the Seventh Doctor himself, his character is... You can't trust him. You can't. But there's this sort of idea that he's battling a different kind of... He's fighting a different kind of fight than his predecessors. Every other incarnation of the Doctor, within the context they're presented, is just sort of falling into a story one way or another. Like, hey, we've arrived here. Oh, this is going on. Or, oh, come along, Clara. We're going... Oh, not... No. They're like, oh, come along, Sarah. What's going on here? Like, oh, this. I've been called to Gallifrey. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? We gotta do this. And because we just arrived. This Doctor is very much someone who has a plan. There's something he wants to do in this incarnation. And it's not just travel around. We'll see this incarnation topple governments, battle cosmic gods, as well as, you know, the occasional battle with Sontarans and Daleks and Cybermen. We're talking. And I think that's really great. The question is, where does the character go after all these years? So before we've got this whole, the Doctor's going on journeys, the Doctor's stuck on Earth. That's actually stuck on Earth was the most unique thing the Doctor had done up until this point. If you think about it, the biggest change to the format, outside of going to color and going and having a bunch of companions. So if you look at it, the first Doctor's there, the Doctor's very much trying to not get involved. He's trying like, this doesn't concern us, let's go. We're just trying to get people home. Second Doctor is more involved. Third Doctor, the show's grounded on Earth. Fourth Doctor, we're going back. Gothic horror as a theme, but that's pretty much it. Fifth Doctor, a lot of people here. Sixth Doctor, ooh, strangling? Seventh Doctor is like, no, there are things in the world that we have to fight. It's very the Second Doctor. And the difference is, the Second Doctor says, we've come across these things, let's deal with them. The Seventh, like, no, we're going to actively pursue these things. We're going to actively set up different teams. We're going to essentially be Gandalf. So when you think of Gandalf as a character, Gandalf he's helping dwarves, he's helping men, all this to eventually fight off horrible things like dragons and Sauron. And he wants to create a better world for the good people to do the good things. And you could argue he sets himself a bit high in that, and the Seventh Doctor does too. You know, toppling governments through the radio and battling beings like Fenwick and stopping police states. These are all cool things, but they're a far cry from the simple things that the Doctor actually wants to protect. As a matter of fact, this quote from Gandalf in The Hobbit I think sums up the Doctor in this light.
Saruman believes that it is only a great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I've found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love.
Those simple things help defeat evil. The Doctor then takes it a step further, like, well, what if we just use those people? The same way that Gandalf wants to recruit Bilbo. There's something in Bilbo that can be used to defeat great evil. And then we see it with Frodo, with Sam. The Doctor says, well, I don't have hobbits. What about humans? Specifically girls. That sounds a bit dark, but still, that is the Doctor in essence. He helps, he essentially molds everyday people to stand up to evil. Alright? That can be as a less manipulative way, more of an inspirational way, more of a setting an example way. We'll see that with Rose and Nine, that, the Doctor makes you be better. The Doctor makes you see you can make a difference. And that's great. The difference is, though, the Seventh Doctor really, really, really can't be trusted. Alright? It feels like he's manipulated Ace to an extent. There was a theory going on that he had put a thought inside Mel's mind that got her to leave. The fact that there are stories where he's trapped cosmic gods in time loops where they succumb to radiation poisoning. There was the joke going on that the Seventh Doctor could not have been in the Time War because he would have won the Time War. Alright? It would have ended. We don't need to fight. No, I'm going to win. There's going to be a hole in the universe, but I promise you, I will win the Time War. That's the Seventh Doctor. Look at Remembrance of the Daleks, where the Doctor manipulates two Dalek factions with the Hand of Omega. Gets them to destroy themselves. It's brilliant. He doesn't tell anybody that's his plan. He just plays it close to the vest. He's a bit conflicted. Curse of Fenwick, where it's implied that he's been manipulating Ace, or at the very least, he chose Ace specifically to battle Fenwick. And even furthering the battle with Fenwick, we'll see the stuff he does. Creating a separate TARDIS team to go behind the backs of his actual companions. He'll do all of this. And it's shady, it's messed up, but it's for the greater good. And it's fun, it's great, because the whole time you're seeing this relatively short guy who plays spoons and does magic tricks. He's like, yeah, I'm also battling cosmic entities from the Elder Days. It's fun. He's fun. I think it's why I love the 7th Doctor. He reminds me of the 11th Doctor in the fact that outside of all the jokes, he's an incredibly sad and old person who is not to be messed with. And he's not as grandiose as 10. 10 with his intense face. No, 2, 7, and 11 have this idea that they're the most dangerous ones because they're easy to dismiss and they've actually been manipulated. You're like, 10 does it a little, but he's more at home as automatically asserting himself as the authority. There's no higher position than him. Where 2, 7, 11, like, we don't. Could we not? I have to. All right, so that means I've got to put on my 7th Doctor Don't Mess With Me voice. Play the clip.
Doctor, pity me.
Fear me.
What?
Tell this to your gods. When they punish you, when they stretch you on the neutron rack, I'm still here.
Are you? You're one little man?
No, not a man. Not a human being. I'm a complex space-time event. I am Lord President of Gallifrey, the traveler from beyond time. I am the Sandman, the oncoming storm. I am the Kar-Farak Gatri, destroyer of worlds. And sometimes, only sometimes, I am your worst nightmare. I'm the Doctor, and I take care of my friends.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Oh, this costume. I love. The only costume I don't love of the 7th Doctor is the Big Finish one. And that's because it's like put a pin. Is it a Watchmen reference? I don't know. Don't really care. But again, the first two I like, especially the darker coat. Great. This is the only time the question marks work. So J&T thought, well, you know what? A couple question marks didn't work. What if I add a god-awful amount of question marks? Somehow it works better. So yes, that's the 7th Doctor there. So what are some really great stories? So let's start with Time in the Rani. Not a perfect story. Its sole premise is not to really sell the era so much as to sell the Doctor. And I think it does a good job at that. The Happiness Patrol, great story. Great story. Toppling a government is going to be a thing for the 7th Doctor, as I've said before. And the idea that this government is stopping you from being anything other than happy is a frightening thought. And the Candyman, I love this design. I love everything about the Candyman, especially how he dies. Great, great. It's very Dolores Umbridge when you think of the Happiness Patrol. Remembrance of the Daleks, obviously. Davros is there. Gallifreyan lore is there. The Doctor, also Jeffrey from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is there. I love Battlefield and Silver Nemesis. I know some people don't really like Silver Nemesis, but it's a good Cyberman story for me. And Lady Painfort does a great job of selling the mystery of the Doctor. As well as the Doctor's appearance, as well as the Doctor looking at her like, he's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Battlefield, I felt, was a great way to say goodbye to the Brigadier. Like, he doesn't die, but he's trying to live a retired life, and he's like, I'm not going back out there. What? The Doctor might be there. All right, I'll go back out. I'll go back out. Curse of Fenwick. I like it better than Ghostlight because I think Ghostlight requires more than one viewing, and I just didn't have time to watch it more than once. I think it's got a great atmosphere, but I don't think I quite get it the same way I'm supposed to. Curse of Fenwick is great because it's brings Ace into the story in a fun way. Like, it explains why the Doctor chose Ace, what Ace's purpose is, as well as some great emotional moments with Ace, especially in regards to her mum. Great stuff. And survival, oddly enough. I know some people aren't big on survival. I like it because the setup is great. Hey, Ace has arrived here. She comes to a conclusion about the plot, about what's going on. The Doctor sees something inconsequential to us, and like, there's a story here. I'm going to follow this cat. And that's it. So from an audio standpoint, well, I would say just about anything with Hex. So Hex is the 7th Doctor's companion. He's sort of like a better version of Rory. And I know we all love Rory. But hear me out. Hex is here not because his wife dragged him along. Alright? He's not here to help further Amy's story, or in this case, Ace's story. He's here because he has his own story. And that makes a big difference as to why a character is here. Why are you here? Rory's here for Amy. Hex is here mostly for himself. So Live 34, where the Doctor and company topple a corrupt government through the radio, and it's very politically neutral. It could really be any side, as opposed to Fearmonger, which is definitely supposed to be one side of a political group. But whatever. Enemy of the Daleks, how mad science goes wrong, more than usual. Also, it's one of the stories where the Doctor is trying to make sure a disaster happens because it's for the greater good of time and space. Also, trying to create a predator for the Daleks sounds like a good idea, but you can't mess it up, and they mess it up. The Settling, a pure historical. This time, the character is Oliver Cromwell at Drahuda, and it's an interesting story because it's told after the fact, narrated by Ace and Hex. It's interesting because I think the Doctor Light formula works best for the 7th Doctor because he's more comfortable in the background. We can be all shady. Angela Scutari, Protect and Survive. I might get the order wrong. Angela Scutari, Protect and Survive, Black and White, Gods and Monsters, and Afterlife is one big story. I might have missed one in there, but it's round 2 with Fenwick, and it's a fun, great story because of it. You realize that the Doctor really, really can't be trusted. He doesn't do anything really horrible, but he's keeping big secrets from Ace and Hex. Big secrets. As well as Afterlife is not perfect, but it has a really great sort of theme and feel to it. It's one of the stories that push Ace and the Doctor's relationship even further than it should have, even further than we thought was possible. And that happens a lot in Doctor Who with those two. Like, their relationship might be the strongest and the most fragile at the same time of all the Doctor companion relationships. So anyway, that's it. What you guys think about the 7th Doctor? Do you like him? Do you hate him? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is About Thinking signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.
Where to now, Ace?
Home.
Home?
The TARDIS.
Yes, the TARDIS. There are worlds out there where the sky's burning, where the sea's asleep and the rivers dream. People made of smoke and cities made of song. Some where there's danger, some where there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Come on, Ace. We've got work to do.